Part 1. The cracks I couldn't ignore. I used to believe my life was far from perfect, but at least it was stable. In a world where nothing lasts, where people drift in and out of your life like strangers on a train, I thought I had found one anchor: my husband, Daniel. We had been together for almost a decade. We met in college when life was cheap and messy, when we were just kids pretending to be adults. He was the funny one in the back row, always cracking sarcastic jokes that made professors groan. I was the quiet, diligent girl with neatly written notes and a stack of library books I carried everywhere. Somehow, against all odds, we clicked. Through the years, we built a life together. We survived on ramen noodles and hand-me-down furniture, celebrated our first tiny paychecks as if we had won the lottery, dreamed about traveling the world once we finally had money. We matured side by side, fought side by side, laughed side by side. And in all of it, I thought, this is what real partnership looks like. But the truth? Cracks had been forming for a long time. I just didn't want to see them. The first red flags. It started subtly, almost unnoticeably. The phone. Daniel had always been careless with it. He'd leave it on the kitchen counter, on the couch, even in the bathroom. Sometimes it rang for hours before he realized it wasn't in his pocket. That used to be his normal. But then suddenly it wasn't. He started carrying his phone everywhere. Into the bathroom. To take out the trash. Even from one room to another, as if it was glued to his hand. At dinner, he placed it face down on the table, something he never used to do. I teased him once. "Are you waiting for a call from the CIA or something?" He gave a short, nervous laugh. "You watch too many shows, Em." I laughed along, but something in my stomach twisted. Then came the smell. There were nights when he came home late, and I caught the faint trace of perfume on his clothes. Not mine. Not the familiar scents of our friends either. This was heavier, sweeter, completely foreign. I wrinkled my nose. Wow. Someone drowned themselves in perfume at the office today. His answer came too quick. "Yeah, new coworker. She's, really into her fragrances, I guess." I smiled. Pretended it was nothing. But a seed of suspicion had been planted. And then the late nights. Daniel always worked long hours in finance. That wasn't new. What was new was the silence. He stopped texting me when he'd be late. He stopped calling. He would just vanish for hours and come home at midnight, offering vague stories about deadlines and client dinners. I tried to tell myself it was fine, that I was overthinking, that I was stressed from my own job and imagining monsters where there were none. But deep down I knew better. Restless nights. It became impossible to ignore. I started waking up in the middle of the night. Sometimes I'd find him sitting in bed with his phone, the glow illuminating his face. His fingers moved fast, typing. The moment I stirred, he'd lock the screen and roll over, pretending to sleep. And I lay there, heart racing, staring at the ceiling, asking myself questions I didn't want answers to. Why did he need to hide his phone from me? Why couldn't he look me in the eye anymore? Why did I feel like I was sleeping next to a stranger? Then came the gym. Daniel had never been into fitness. Sure, he'd jog once in a blue moon and complain about sore knees for days afterward. But suddenly he signed up for a gym membership. Started going 3 times a week. Bought new sneakers, expensive protein shakes, workout gear. "Since when do you care about working out?" I asked one evening. He smirked. "I don't want to look like a grandpa at 40. It sounded reasonable. Logical. But I knew him. That kind of sudden discipline wasn't him. The pieces weren't fitting together. And I hated where my mind kept going. The first evidence. It happened on a random Tuesday. I was doing laundry like always, tossing his shirts into the machine when my hand brushed against a crumpled piece of paper in his jacket pocket. A receipt. From a hotel. A double room. Last Thursday. My breath caught in my throat. My vision blurred. Last Thursday. Wasn't that the night he said he had a late meeting? I sank onto the cold tile floor with the receipt trembling in my hands. My heart was pounding so loudly it drowned out every sound in the room. That night I tried to keep it together. I sat at the dinner table, staring at him, memorizing every detail of his face as he casually ate, as if my world hadn't just cracked open. "How was your project at work?" I asked, my voice tight. He sighed, launching into a story about deadlines and coworkers and barely making it on time. And I sat there, nodding, swallowing the rage and disbelief that threatened to spill out. Because I knew. He was lying. Sleepless. I didn't sleep that night. Not a second. I lay next to him, listening to his steady breathing, my body stiff as a board. My mind screamed at me. This is it. This is proof. He's cheating. But another voice whispered, "What if you're wrong? What if there's another explanation?" Still, the evidence was piling up. The perfume, the late nights, the gym, the hotel receipt. I wanted to scream. I wanted to wake him up and demand answers. But I couldn't. Not yet. The second evidence. A few days later, I made a choice I never thought I would. I tried to get into his phone. It wasn't about mistrust, at least that's what I told myself. It was about survival, about needing the truth, whatever it was. I knew his passcode. We had always shared it. But when I typed it in, it didn't work. He had changed it. The realization hit me harder than the hotel receipt. This was deliberate. A wall built between us. A secret he had no intention of sharing. I sat on the bed, staring at the locked screen, and the tears spilled silently down my cheeks. The third evidence. The final nail came unexpectedly. We shared a family account for rideshares. It was convenient, practical. I rarely checked his history, why would I? But that day when I opened the app, I saw it. 2 trips. Both to the same hotel. Both on nights he claimed to be working late. My hand shook so badly I nearly dropped my phone. It was undeniable now. No more excuses. No more lies to myself. Daniel was cheating on me. The breakdown. I sat at our kitchen table that night, phone in one hand, receipt in the other, staring into the darkness. I wanted to vomit. I wanted to scream until the walls shattered. I wanted to shake him awake and throw the evidence in his face. But instead I sat there paralyzed, the weight of betrayal pressing down on me. All those years, all those promises, all those nights we whispered about our future, about the family we'd have, the trips we'd take, the life we'd build. Were they all lies? I felt like I was falling into a bottomless pit. And the worst part? I was alone in it. But somewhere in the middle of that storm of grief and anger, another thought began to take shape. I can't carry this alone. And that was the beginning of a decision that would change everything. I didn't know it then, but soon I would tell my story to strangers. I would pour my heartbreak into a post on Reddit. And what came after would turn my world upside down. Part 2: The Reddit Confession. When you live with a secret, it begins to rot you from the inside. The more you try to swallow it, the heavier it becomes, like a stone lodged in your chest. I carried Daniel's betrayal alone for days, maybe weeks, though time blurred together in that fog. I went to work, I smiled at colleagues, I nodded along in meetings, But all the while my mind was spinning with the same haunting questions. Why me? How long had this been going on? Who was she? Did everyone else know but me? Every time I looked at Daniel, my stomach churned. I wanted to demand the truth, to scream it out of him. But whenever I opened my mouth, nothing came. Fear strangled me. Fear of what his answer would be. Fear of hearing in plain words what my heart already knew. So instead of confronting him, I turned inward. And in that silence, loneliness crept in. I felt like I was drowning in a storm no one else could see. Why Reddit? I don't remember the exact moment I decided to write the post. It wasn't planned. One night, after another tense dinner with Daniel where he barely looked at me, I locked myself in the bathroom, sat on the cold tiles, and opened my phone. My hands were shaking. My chest was tight. And for some reason, my fingers typed Reddit into the search bar. I wasn't new to the platform. I'd lurked for years reading funny threads, relationship advice, random debates. But I had never posted anything of my own. The thought of exposing my private life to millions of strangers felt insane. And yet, I needed it. I needed someone to hear me, to see me, to tell me I wasn't losing my mind. So I found myself on a subreddit I had stumbled upon before, r/true off my chest. A place where people spilled their deepest secrets, their heartbreaks, their confessions. The anonymity was liberating. No names, no faces. Just words. Writing the post. It took me nearly an hour to write it. I kept deleting, rewriting, crying, starting over. The title. I think my husband is cheating on me, and I found proof I can't ignore. And then I poured everything out. I wrote about the phone he guarded like a hawk, about the perfume on his clothes, about the late nights, the gym, the changed password. I described the hotel receipt I found, the rideshare records that confirmed it. I admitted how broken I felt, how my trust was crumbling, how the person I thought was my soulmate had become a stranger in my own home. I didn't hold back. I wrote about the shame too. The shame of being deceived, the shame of not confronting him, the shame of needing validation from strangers because I was too afraid to face the truth on my own. When I finally hit post, my hands were trembling so badly I almost dropped the phone. The response. I expected silence, or maybe a handful of comments telling me to just leave him. But what I got was an avalanche. Within minutes, my post had hundreds of upvotes. Within hours, thousands. The comments section exploded. People from all over the world, strangers who owed me nothing, poured out empathy, advice, anger on my behalf. You're not crazy. Those are clear signs of cheating. Hotel receipts don't lie. Protect yourself. Start gathering financial documents in case you need them. He's gaslighting you. You deserve better. Some comments were blunt, almost brutal. Once a cheater, always a cheater. File for divorce. Others were gentle. I'm so sorry. I went through the same thing. It hurts, but you'll survive this. I promise. I sat there for hours scrolling, reading every single one, tears streaming down my face. I wasn't alone anymore. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't just imagining things. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, I felt a flicker of strength. The roller coaster of emotions. That night I barely slept, but for a different reason. Instead of staring at the ceiling in despair, I was glued to my phone, watching strangers validate my pain. It was like therapy, only raw or realer. People were sharing their own stories of betrayal, of surviving infidelity, of clawing their way back to happiness. Each one was like a lifeline thrown into my storm, but with validation came rage. The more I read, the angrier I became. I realized how selfish Daniel had been, how much he had stolen from me. My peace of mind, my sense of safety, my faith in us. And yet, even with all that anger boiling inside me, I couldn't confront him. Not yet. I told myself I needed more proof. Or maybe I was just too scared of hearing his confession aloud. The viral effect. By the next morning, my post had gone viral. Tens of thousands of upvotes. Thousands of comments. People even shared it across other platforms. I received private messages too, some offering support, some sharing detailed guides on how to check for hidden bank accounts, secret phones, even private investigators. It was overwhelming but also empowering. For once, I wasn't suffering in silence. At breakfast, Daniel sat across from me, scrolling his own phone, sipping coffee like nothing was wrong. He had no idea the internet knew more about his betrayal than I had ever told him. I looked at him, and a strange calm settled over me. The truth is out there now, I thought. Even if he doesn't know it yet. The turning point. Days passed. The posts kept gaining traction. People kept checking in, asking for updates. I was both terrified and grateful. And then one evening it happened. I was lying in bed, scrolling through the endless wave of comments, when a notification popped up. A private message. The username wasn't familiar. The subject line made my stomach twist. It said, "I think I'm the woman in your story." Part 3. The message that changed everything. When I first saw the notification, I froze. A private message. From a stranger. With a subject line that made my blood run cold. "I think I'm the woman in your story." I stared at the screen for what felt like hours, my heart pounding in my ears. My fingers hovered over the screen, trembling. I couldn't bring myself to open it. What if it was a troll? Someone mocking my pain? Reddit wasn't always kind after all. What if it was her? The woman Daniel was seeing behind my back? I couldn't decide which possibility terrified me more. Opening the message. Finally, with a shaky breath, I tapped it open. Hi. I just read your post. I think we need to talk. I don't know how to say this, but I think I'm the woman your husband is seeing. Please don't ignore this. I need to tell you what he told me. My vision blurred. For a moment, I thought I might faint. I had imagined this moment so many times in nightmares. The other woman confronting me, taunting me. But the tone wasn't cruel. It wasn't mocking. It sounded desperate. I swallowed hard and typed back. "Who are you?" Seconds ticked by. Then minutes. I thought maybe she wouldn't respond. But then another message appeared. The truth begins to unravel. My name is Emily. I've been seeing Daniel for a little over a year. He told me he was divorced, that he and his wife had been separated for a long time. He said you two were only living in the same house until the paperwork went through. I swear I had no idea you were still together. I feel sick. My chest tightened. Separated? Divorced? He had told her that? I typed furiously, anger and disbelief spilling out through my thumbs. We are not separated. We are not divorced. We are married. Living together. Sharing a bed. He lied to you. Almost immediately, her reply came back. Oh my God. I didn't know. I swear I didn't. He told me you had moved out months ago. My hands were shaking so violently I nearly dropped the phone. I could barely breathe. He wasn't just cheating. He was living a double life. The shock of recognition. The messages kept coming fast, frantic. He spent weekends with me sometimes. He said he was traveling for work. He even introduced me to some of his friends as his girlfriend. I thought he was serious about me. I thought he loved me. I could hear the heartbreak bleeding through her words. And for the first time I realized she wasn't my enemy. She was another victim. Still, part of me recoiled. I didn't want to feel sympathy. I wanted to hate her, to blame her, to scream at her for touching what was mine. But deep down I knew the truth. This wasn't her fault. It was his. Comparing notes. The conversation went on for hours. We compared everything. The lies he told me. The lies he told her. The dates, the excuses, the alibis. And horrifyingly, they matched. When he told me he was working late, he was with her. When he claimed he was on a business trip, he was in her bed. When he bought me flowers just because, it was after spending days with her trying to wash the guilt away. Piece by piece the puzzle formed, and with every piece my stomach turned. Her side of the story. Emily told me about their first meeting at a coffee shop near his office. He had charmed her with that same easy smile I once fell for. He told her he was lonely, that his marriage was just paperwork, that he was waiting for the right moment to make it official. She believed him. Why wouldn't she? He was attentive, affectionate, convincing. He told her he dreamed of building a life with her. He promised her things he used to promise me. Hearing it broke me in ways I didn't think possible. It was like listening to my own memories being recycled, handed off to someone else like they meant nothing. The betrayal cuts deeper. At one point, Emily confessed something that made my blood boil. He said he wanted to introduce me to his parents soon. He said they would love me. I didn't understand why he kept delaying it. Now I know. His parents. The same parents who had been pressuring us about grandchildren. The same parents who had toasted us at our anniversary dinner last year. He had been planning to parade her in front of them while still married to me. The audacity. The cruelty. I nearly smashed my phone against the wall. From enemies to allies. And yet, through all the anger, something unexpected happened. We started comforting each other. Two women, strangers, both deceived by the same man. Sharing pain, sharing rage, sharing disbelief. She wasn't gloating. She wasn't smug. She was broken just like me. At one point she wrote, "I'm so sorry. If I had known, I never would have touched him. I feel disgusted. I feel used. Please believe me." And I realized I did believe her. Daniel had been running this game for months, maybe years. Juggling lies, weaving a web so tangled even we couldn't see the truth until we compared stories. And now we finally saw it. Together. The decision. By the end of the night, one thing was clear. We couldn't let him keep getting away with this. I don't know who said it first. Maybe it was her. Maybe it was me. But the words hung in the chat like a spark ready to ignite a fire. What if we expose him? Together. My heart thudded. For the first time, I felt a surge of power instead of helplessness. Daniel thought he could manipulate us in the shadows. But now the shadows had light. We weren't rivals. We were allies. And he had no idea what was coming. Part 4: The Exposure. The night Emily and I decided to work together, something inside me shifted. For weeks I had been living in darkness, paralyzed by betrayal, crushed by the weight of lies. But suddenly I felt a spark. Not just anger. Not just pain. Power. He thought we were enemies. He thought he could pit us against each other, keep us apart with his half-truths. But instead we were united. And united we were dangerous. Planning the confrontation. We spent days messaging back and forth. At first it was cautious, sharing details, lining up timelines, comparing receipts and stories. But soon it turned into strategy. How do you destroy a liar? How do you make sure he can never gaslight his way out of the truth again? I wanted to scream at him the second I knew everything. But Emily convinced me we had to be smart. If we just yell at him, he'll deny it, she said. He'll twist it. He'll call us crazy. We need proof. We need witnesses. She was right. And so we built a case. Screenshots, photos, messages, dates, every lie, every alibi, every moment he slipped, all neatly stacked in a folder labeled Truth, The Trap. Finally, we had everything. All that was left was to decide how to deliver it. I wanted to do it in private, to see his face crumble without an audience. But the more we talked, the more it became clear. He thrived in secrecy. His lies only worked when no one else could challenge them. So we chose a battleground he couldn't escape. His parents' house. They adored him. They believed every word he said. They thought we were the perfect couple. They needed to see what he really was. And so one Sunday afternoon, Emily and I walked into his family's living room. Together. The reveal. The look on Daniel's face when he saw us both was almost worth all the pain. His smile faltered. His eyes darted from me to her, back to me. His lips parted, but no sound came out. For once, the master manipulator had no script. I placed the folder on the coffee table. My hands didn't even shake. "Sit," I said. My voice was steel. His parents looked confused. His mother laughed nervously, asking if this was some kind of joke. But when I opened the folder and began laying out the evidence, printed screenshots, receipts, photos, silence fell. Watching him break. First Daniel tried. God, he tried. He leaned back in his chair, scoffing. "This is ridiculous. She's making this up. She's obsessed with me." Emily's voice cut through the room like a blade. "Obsessed? You told me you loved me. You begged me to move in with you. You introduced me to your friends," I added. And while he was doing that, he was sleeping in my bed, calling me his wife, celebrating anniversaries. His father's face turned red. His mother put her hand over her mouth. Still he scrambled. "They're lying. Both of them. This is some kind of setup." But then I slid across the final piece of evidence. A photo of him and Emily, time-stamped, dated on the same night he told me he was out of town on business. He went pale. His lips moved, but no words came. For the first time, everyone in the room could see what he was. A liar caught in his own web. His parents' reaction. His mother broke first. Tears welled up in her eyes. "Daniel, how could you? To your wife. To this poor girl." His father shook his head in disgust. "You've shamed this family." Daniel looked like a trapped animal, his walls collapsing. He stammered, pleaded, swore he could explain. But the more he spoke, the worse it got. Every word contradicted the evidence. Every excuse fell flat. He wasn't the charming man they thought they knew anymore. He was exposed, naked in his deceit. The aftermath. He stormed out that night, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. He screamed that we'd ruined his life, that we'd regret this. But I didn't feel regret. I felt free. Emily and I sat together in that living room long after he left. Two strangers bound by betrayal, now allies in truth. We talked, we cried, we even laughed bitterly at the absurdity of it all. Because the reality was clear. Daniel hadn't just betrayed one woman. He had betrayed everyone who ever trusted him. And now he had nothing left. Moving forward. In the weeks that followed, I filed for divorce. I blocked his number. I rebuilt my life piece by piece. Emily did the same. She cut all ties, refused to answer his desperate late-night calls. We weren't friends, not exactly. But we were survivors of the same storm. And every now and then we checked in on each other. A reminder that we weren't alone, that the scars we carried were proof of our strength. The moral. Looking back, I realized something. If I had never posted my story online, I might never have known the full truth. If Emily hadn't reached out, I might have kept believing his lies. If we hadn't united, he might still be playing both sides. The internet can be cruel, but it can also be a lifeline. Strangers can become allies. Lies can be shattered by truth. And sometimes the person you think is your rival is actually your greatest source of strength. So if you're reading this and you've been betrayed, let me tell you, you're not alone. The truth will find its way out. And when it does, you will rise.